Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now, here's Jay.
Yep, that music sounds good. I don't know if I do, but the music does. Anyway, welcome to the Educated Retirement Radio here on KMET 1490 AM, where we contemplate retirement and how best to prepare for retirement and how best to stay happily retired, at least on the happy side of things. So today we have Chuck Salisbury. I'm going to show you the book he wrote. One of the books he wrote. He wrote a few, but we'll start with that one anyway. He's going to be with us. And it's the incredible investment book, or Introducing America's #1 Investment. And he is a well-traveled, world-travel speaker with lots of things that he can share with us, and he will. And what is that #1 investment, you want to know? And so do I. Well, just hang on and we'll find out. But today we're going to learn how to sell aluminum siding with Roger Dangerfield and search for the Holy Grail with Monty Python. So hang in there, please. Me, you know I'm not retired. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here yapping on the radio, or I'd just be a guest on Charles' show or whatever. But we're going to talk about retirement, more production in retirement, whether that's making money or whether that is just enjoying retirement. So please call me. There's my phone number up there, 866-955-2233. 866-955-2233. We also have an on-air number that we'll get to here in just a bit. I don't want to get them confused, so we'll wait a minute on that. But jump over to the YouTube channel. That's about halfway down the first page on drheckham.com, or if that doesn't work for you, theeducatedretirementradio.com, and all kinds of stuff. Don't forget the blog, where I put at least one, probably every day, sometimes 3. If I miss a few days, I load them all up. Lots of current stories about all the subjects that we are messing with. So get a hold of me. As you know, it doesn't cost anything but a little bit of time, but hopefully we'll enjoy that time. Now, my day job. Yeah, I got a day job. It's at the Loan Source. My loan license number is 834-465 NMLS in Department of Real Estate, because I still have a license even though I don't do real estate. And that number is 792-630. I want your questions. I want your input. You know you've heard that. Call me. We don't need to talk about reverse mortgages, but we can talk about loans. If there's anything else you need to talk about, either I have an answer. If I don't, and many times I don't, I know people who do. So we want to have people together and, understand everything about you and your whole family. So be active, not reactive. Okay? So today, what is today? National Go for a Ride Day, believe it or not. As if most of us here in Southern California don't do much driving. So it's supposed to, this is according to what it says, is get up and go by bike, car, train, plane, or anything. I'm not sure whether skateboard counts or not. I guess if going by plane or train does, then I guess skateboard does too. So, I imagine a lot of you are probably stuck in traffic right now and thinking, gee, what a wonderful thing to go take a ride. So this is the last show before Thanksgiving. I started wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a great Thanksgiving. So we'll continue doing that. Remember, Thanksgiving is time for being thankful. But what's the best thing to be thankful for? Family, I would think. Your own family, your extended family, whether those are here now, memories of those, and future also. So today is National Cranberry Relish Day. Not just cranberry, but Cranberry Relish Day. Okay. Cranberry Relish Day. So you know why we see on these commercials and things they're wearing waders like they could be fishing while picking cranberries, because each berry has an air pocket in it and makes it rise to the top of the pool. And since it's rising to the top of the pool, you might as well just take it off the top. So I guess it grows in mushy dirt, and then they even put more water in it so that they can get it up to grab at. So as long as we're grabbing and we're trying to make this go by quick so we can get to Charles, let's grab a quick break. And don't go away, because it'll be quick.
Programmers Podcast using your smartphone. Don't miss out on the free KMET smartphone apps. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
Yeah, that one I really like. Let it play for a minute. All right, okay. Well, welcome back to the Educated Retirement Radio here on your home planet, 1490 KMET AM radio, the Mighty Met, also worldwide podcast, worldwide video cast, right? Right, Sean? Worldwide. And remember, www.theeducatedretirementradio.com or drheckham.com. 866-955-2233, 866-955-2233 for talking. Because why do we want to talk? Because knowledge is power, and we can learn from each other. So it's not my birthday today, but you know whose birthday this is? Rodney Dangerfield's. Yes, sir, Mr. Can't Get No Respect Day is today. They should make it National Get No Respect Day. Don't you think, Sean?
Yeah, don't they have one?
Anyway, Rodney joined us in 1921, and he earned his wings in two. Go ahead, play it. He puts me, I talk too much all the time, but Rodney's one of those people that can shut me right up. So he was born with the name of Jacob Rodney Cohen, and he sold aluminum siding and kept the family going doing that, delivered groceries, sold newspapers and ice cream at the beach. So not a bad job. And he was a singing waiter until he was fired. Oh, that's great.
Love was just a glance away, a warm embracing dance away, and ever since that night,
there it is.
we've been together.
Right. That is a CD of Rodney. He's got one hip-hop song also in here, which I love, but I am so happy I've got this. And I got this actually as kind of a gag gift, along with Rick Moranis singing country tunes. Now, I gotta admit, Rodney's really colorful, I should say, in his singing. Rick is, he's really good, actually, and he would have a career probably. Now, this is something I've been promising people to see. about 3 or 4 shows in a row or whatever, and I haven't found it. I got it. Okay, now here is one of my favorite all-time actors. And man, is he ever a lousy singer. But it's so entertaining. Here it is. Robert Mitchum singing Calypso. Now, you got to admit, these are things you don't see or hear every day. And you probably shouldn't. But once in a while, it's a good thing. So Rodney started his career with Ed Sullivan in 1967 when they needed a last-minute replacement because he'd been doing shticks, in the Catskills. And, I don't know, they're still up there in the Catskills? Do they still have those places? I assume they do. Sean, do you have any idea?
I got no clue.
Yeah, well, you know what? I should, but I don't. I guess I hope they do, because in case I get there sometime. But then Rodney became a regular on the Dean Martin and the Tonight shows. So Dangerfield's in New York. I've seen it. I think it's on 2nd Avenue it was. I saw it maybe 25 years ago. I knew I would go there, and like so much else that I knew about myself, I never did. So, but I'll tell you one thing. I did visit his grave side, and I was kind of surprised to see it in Westwood, because I always kind of put him together with New York, but there he is in Westwood next to so many other big-time stars. He's right around the corner from Marilyn Monroe, and what is it, Dick? I mean, so many people are buried there. But on the gravestone, on Rodney's gravestone, if you look on the internet, it says, there goes the neighborhood. But that's not what it says. I've seen it. It says not good for the neighborhood. So that, too, is pretty funny. I think he's kind of right next to Merv Griffin. And on his headstone, it says, Merv will be right back after these messages. But I will tell you one thing. I'll give you a couple of jokes here before we take another break. My fan club broke up. The guy died. When I played in the sandbox, the cat kept covering me up. So, how about this one? Wait a minute. Last week, my house was on fire. My wife told the kids to keep quiet. You'll wake up Daddy. When I was a kid, my parents moved a lot, but I always found them. And then this one, this one's really gross. And I tried to say this even during the break to Sean, and I couldn't keep a straight face. So let me try it now, and we don't care whether I keep a straight face or not. When I was a kid, I had a lot of pimples. One day in the library, I fell asleep and woke up to find a blind man reading my face. I can't stand it. It just drives me nuts. Okay. My uncle's dying wish was to have me sit on him. Let me do that again, since, delivery is the whole thing. My uncle's dying wish was to have me on his lap. He was in the electric chair. I met the Surgeon General. He offered me a cigarette. And, I got one more. I'll wait until the end of the show, probably, instead of that Henny Youngman one that I usually throw off. Who else's birthday? Another big time for me. Terry Gilliam was born in 1940, which makes him older than me. Again, if you're older than I am and fatter, you are my hero, but no. We don't. Now, do you know who Terry Gilliam is?
No.
Me, go ahead.
No, I sure don't.
Well, I'm sure this will ring a bell, though, when you... And I knew him as a director, believe it or not, before I even realized he was part of Monty Python. So he was, unlike myself, he was president of his class in high school, a straight A student, senior prom king. Can you imagine me as a senior prom king? Don't answer that. straight A student and voted most likely to succeed. No, not like me. I was, to tell you the truth, I was freshman and sophomore class presidents in college, and pretty much straight A's in my biology, which was my major. But I was definitely a D to a D minus student in high school. So things can change, and then now look at me. So, anyway, Terry Gilliam started out as a cartoonist and an animator until he met up with others in the Monty Python. I think it was John Cleese. They were both working on a magazine or something. And, of course, Terry Gilliam was the only American on that team. And he directed about 45 movies, believe it or not. Time Bandits being the first, with Monty Python and with Terry Jones co-directing. He was a co-director on Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Life of Brian. I'm not sure about the meaning of life, but wow, that was quite a movie. Anyway, Brazil, I really love Brazil. I don't know, I've never been there, but I mean the movie Brazil. And we can say a whole lot about, there was a couple of trilogies that was made by Terry Gilliam. This was, I don't know. I'm not going to get into those trilogies because I've heard two different varieties, but Brazil is an amazing film. That's the cover I usually am more aware of. To me, a masterpiece, and that's the name of that tune. He also did a few others like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. You know that? 12 Monkeys. Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which is just amazing. I must have seen that 50 times, and I'll probably see it more. It's just amazing. And Uma Thurman's first movie, by the way, and Robin Williams was unpaid and uncredited as King of the Moon. And then this one, which I started showing you a bit ago, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, is one of the later ones. And of course, Heath Ledger died during the production of that, or the filming actually, and had to be replaced with several other people like Johnny Depp and a few others. Tom Waits was in there playing the devil. Oh, and of course I wanted to get back to Laserdiscs and get back to a good picture of that. So on that note, it's break time again, and we'll say goodbye to me and to Rodney for just a few minutes, and stay with us. Thanks. Get him going there, and I got to talk. So I don't know, maybe I could just next time you could just play the music and we'll run a tape for me or something, because Sean knows, not only does he know good music. There we go, we have our guest. We're looking at our guest. Well, let me just finish up my normal stuff, otherwise my wife will be upset with me. We got to mention what happened this day in history, and this is of course the day that JFK was shot. 1963, and I don't know. Do you remember where you were? Do you remember, Sean? You weren't even alive then, were you?
No, I sure wasn't.
Oh well. Well, do you remember anyway? Anyway, I think that's all we need to say on that. Here, also, 1961. I'm not talking about food here, but Broccoli and Saltzman, that's putting salt on broccoli, announced their campaign to make Sean Connery the first James Bond. And Dr. No came out the very next year on this date, today, in 1950. No, I didn't. It came out the next year. What happened on this day was Toy Story was released in 1995, the first completely computer-generated film directed by John Lasseter. And for the rest of us, welcome back to the Educated Retirement. And I'm not going to talk about me or my normal stuff when we get going. We're going to get right into Chuck. It is Chuck, right? Or Charles. It looks like Charles on the screen.
Yes.
You go by either one?
Either one, Chuck or Charles. But my mom used to call me Charles, and everyone else called me Chuck.
Yeah, I went to the doctor the other day, and I remember they asked me how tall I was. I said my mother told me I was 6 feet. Turned out I'm about 5'11". I'm about 5'9", excuse me. I can't even convince myself of reality, but what's new, Chuck, I want you to talk about you. I showed your book. I told everybody you were a world traveler, a world experiencer. You know finance one end to the other, and you're going to share some of that with us.
I am indeed, and thank you very much for the opportunity, Jay. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for letting us.
I know you have a big following. But anyway, I would like to share some ideas with people, and if these ideas make any sense, then of course they can contact me and ask more questions.
Yes, they can.
Not enough time, to go thoroughly. So therefore, just as a disclaimer, the ideas that I present today does not mean it's suitable for everybody, okay? Everybody is different, and I spent over 40 years in the securities industry from 1974 until 96 with, a municipal bond firm, VP of Prudential Securities, and Shearson Lehman and Smith Barney, et cetera. So I've come up with a lot of ideas to make money for my clients. And I'm going to share some of these ideas with the people. And if it makes sense, if they'd like to consider it, they can call Jay and ask Jay, how do you do this? And Jay will, of course, tell them to call me. And that's probably the way it should be. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's fine. But they can, they can definitely call you directly also.
Well, that'd be great.
And, we'll make sure you put your numbers out there. Yeah, call me also if you want Charles to be a part of your household board of directors, because, you need several people in that board of directors, financial planners, realtors, lenders, attorneys, and, not just one financial planner, not just one attorney, because a lot of these people have specialties.
Yes, they do. And Jay, you're absolutely correct. The first responsibility that I have from the securities business, it's a hangover from the old days, but it still works today. It's know your client. That's the rule. Know your client. And once you know your client, then you're in a position to start making recommendations that are consistent with their goals. Mm-hmm. And there are certain attorneys that specialize in trust, wills, and other things. Other people will do litigation in a courtroom. So everyone has a different specialty. My specialty is fairly conservative. I don't deal in stock. Now, I have nothing against stock, but stock itself is a specialty. And there's people that deal in stock on a regular basis. They read all the research reports. They're looking for stocks that are going to grow, et cetera. I don't do that.
That guy behind you, though, he specializes in that, right?
He's my mentor because we're both on the Nutrisystem diet together.
He's a little ahead of you, I think.
Well, he doesn't know when to quit. That's the problem. So
that's the problem a lot of people have, either playing craps or playing the stock market.
Yes, well, absolutely. Well, we don't want to do either one of those, I'm sure. But anyway, his name is Slim, which is appropriate. Mm-hmm. Jay, here's idea number one. If you showed my book, you saw on the cover of the book, that I introduced in this particular book, The Number One Investment in America. Now, that's something I've been trying to do since I was writing books. I always wanted to know, since I'm from that industry, what is the number one investment in America? And I had an idea what it was, but I could never nail it down until I found this product. Now, this product, which is number one, unquestionably, is a product that is very popular with the banks. So if you put money in a bank, what does the money do with the bank? The banks take your money and they make money with it, which is called OPM, other people's money. So making money with other people's money is a good business. We'll talk about an idea, but in this case, we're not talking about other people's money so much as your money invested properly for the benefits. And what are the benefits? And why do the big corporations and why do the banks put their money into it versus the retail? Well, the retail, they don't know anything about it. Your stockbroker doesn't do this product. I never even knew about it till I got out of the business, and somebody told me about it, and I said, I don't believe you, because it's too far out of the range. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to pay somebody 11, 12, 13% of their money and be fully qualified, insured by major insurance companies. That didn't make any sense to me. But you know, the more I investigated, I found out it's true. It's absolutely true. And it's a good adjunct to other investments. For example, you are a specialist in reverse mortgages.
Thank you. I believe so.
Reverse mortgage, what's one of the benefits, other than the fact that they're able to get money from the equity in their house that they do not have to pay back on a regular monthly basis, which means here they are, financially secure, with money in their hand, and they need to figure out what are they going to do with that money.
Yes.
Do you buy a car with it? Of course not, because a car is a depreciable asset. So what are you going to do with the money? Invest it in the bank at 2%? I don't think so. But you're looking for something that works. Well, look at this. Life settlements, this particular product. If you're earning 12%, I say there's variables, but if you're earning 12%, your money doubles in 6 years. You put the number in that and say, well, if I kept it in for 6 years to compound, what would happen if I wanted to grow it more? Well, if you left, let's just use an example of 100,000, Jay. If you had 100,000, 6 years later, at 12%, you've got 200,000. 6 years later, you'd have 400,000. So without caring too much about the growth, that's going to happen automatically. You don't have to touch it. But here's a strategy. After you've taken the 100,000 and grew it to 200 to 400,000, you can pay off that mortgage that you borrowed and still have a couple $100,000 left over.
Right.
Imagine that. Now, you got to work the numbers, and I'm not suggesting everybody do this until you work the numbers, and that's what I do.
And remember, if you have a reverse mortgage and you've used it widely by like arbitrage or being able to get these other things, and you get the money, never pay the reverse off. Keep at least $50 that you owe so that the line of credit is still there. And that's all I'll talk about reverse. I'll get out of your way.
Jay, that's good advice. That's good advice. Never upset the apple cart that's feeding your children, okay? As long as you have that money available to you, it's a good safety blanket. So I agree 100%. I like reverse mortgages. And I want to admit to you that there was a time over 2004, 2005, when it was a new thing to me and a lot of other people, and the regulations were not as stringent as they are today. There was a lot of abuse in reverse mortgages. And because of that, I wasn't too hot on it. But today, it's a very strong, very solid product, a lot of due diligence. You have to jump through a lot of hoops. It has to be right for you as the homeowner, and it has to be right for Jay, who's the man who's going to put it all together. And
absolutely. But you know what?
Love it.
Let's take a minute now for you to give out all of your contact information. Then we'll get back to you.
Okay, be happy to do that. My home telephone cell number, which I always keep with me, even when I sleep, it's in the 949 area code. All right, but don't call me at 2 or 3 in the morning. but it is 949 area code, which is local, Orange County, but my phone number is 910-6028. 910-6028. That will,
Yeah, nobody pays long distance anymore anyway, so you can call from almost anywhere in the country.
I think you can. As a matter of fact, I understood that's happening all the time. Jay, you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people even call overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something?
And you get overseas sometimes, don't you?
Actually can speak to somebody if you speak the language, of course.
Right.
If you dial the wrong number, you might get a foreign language, and then you've got to pay for the call. Anyway, that's one idea. Life settlements. Remember the name Life Settlements. And if you forget it, maybe it's a good idea to go to my website, where I've got a lot of valuable information on the website. Also, all the books that I've published so far are on my website. They're on Barnes & Noble and Amazon, etc. But you can go to my website, and what's that? Number1investment.com. Isn't that creative? I'm talking about the number one investment in America, so I got the name number1investment.com so I can remember it. I have trouble remembering sometimes, Jay. Sometimes, you get older and forget things.
Yeah, I started, I was born with kind of a short memory, and it's been tapering off ever since.
I see. Well, there's a limited supply of that, Jay.
Uh-huh.
You have to take some more vitamins or something. Hey, here's what I was doing. I was over at Leisure World in Laguna Hills, Laguna Woods today.
Yeah.
I was scheduling some seminars because I do a lot of seminars for elderly people or people with money. So I was over there and scheduling, and I asked them, I said, you know what? I said, this is a really nice place. And I said, where would I live if I lived here? And they said, just a minute, let me look at the map. And then they asked me what my age was. I told them the truth. I told them what my age was. And then they pointed to a point on the map and said, well, if you move here, this is about the best place you should be. And you know what it was, Jay?
What?
It was right next to the cemetery.
I've seen that there, and wow. Yeah. Yeah, we all know about that, right? We all know that it's coming, but an everyday reminder, it's not necessary.
It is, well, there's some division on that. There's some discussion. Is so far the people that say you can't die, it doesn't happen, so far 100% wrong. So I don't want to argue the point, but I do have another book coming out.
Oh, really?
I mention that? Yeah, I mean, this is my 6th book, and it is a religious book, not an investment book.
Oh, I think I read about that earlier today, actually.
Well, it's called Visitation Day, and in this book, 10 people from heaven that have died and gone to heaven come back to earth for one day. And what do they talk about? They talk about heaven. So it's a difficult book to write because I've never been there. So I've got to use the resources available in my own imagination. But I got a lot of people waiting for that book. So today we're going to move on from Visitation Day to another idea, if you allow me.
Oh, you got it.
Okay, arbitrage.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever heard of arbitrage, Jay? You're a learned man. You've been to the higher education. Arbitrage means making money with other people's money. What do the banks do?
Exactly that.
That's exactly. As a matter of fact, without arbitrage, there wouldn't be any banks.
There'd be no reason for them. I mean, it's nice to have goodwill. I'll keep your money in a safe, but I think it takes more than that.
Well, I think every good bank should have a restaurant that says his and her also.
You're pushing it now.
I know. There's a little politics there, but
Good point, though.
It's like, if you go into a bank and it says them on the restroom door, and I say, well, what kind of money are you dishing out here? I'd like to have American currency, if you wouldn't mind. I've got to keep it all in context, Jay. Okay. Anyway, here's an example of arbitrage. I did this so many times for my customers. They loved it. Making money with other people's money. So I'm going to give everybody a simple example so they understand what arbitrage is. If you happen to do a reverse mortgage and you get $10 million, and Jay asks you, well, what are you going to do with $10 million? And they say, well, I'm going to take some of it and invest it and make more money. You say, well, good idea. What are you going to do? They said, you know what? Chuck Salisbury told me that I should buy a 2-year note paying 9%. And if I got a 2-year note that's paying 9%, that means in 2 years I'll have $18,000. And my loan, I'm not making any loan payments, but I know the interest rate is 2, 3, 4%, something like that. So I gotta be coming out ahead.
Yes, you are coming out ahead.
And I'm paying 4%, even though I'm not paying it. I gotta come out ahead. Guess how often you can do that? You can do that as long as you want.
And when should you have started it other than a long time? For me, it's a long time ago. You probably started it on time, but our listeners, take heed.
Take heed. You don't have to be 65 or 63.
No, not for that.
Right? You don't have to wait till that. As a matter of fact, if you're a normal homeowner that comes to one of my seminars, you're probably in your mid-30s, and you're looking at ways to grow your retirement account and make money. So what do I tell people to do? When they tell me, Chuck, I'd sure like to buy that arbitrage program, but hey, I don't have any $25,000 or $50,000 to invest. And the next question I ask them is this: do you happen to own a home? And the answer, if it's yes, I say, guess what? Your home is your bank. You, if you bought your house 5, 10, 20 years ago, whenever, you got a lot of built up equity in that home. And that equity is available to you if you go to your bank and ask for a HELOC. Now, if you get that money, you don't want to spend that money on something foolish. It's got to be invested properly. You take that $100,000 you borrow from the bank at 2 or 3%, and you buy that same note at 9%. You got 7% that you're earning from other people's money, because it's the bank's money. They lend it to you. It's not your money. It's your equity, but not your money.
I know. I really like it when these people say, oh, I never want to owe any money. I mean, can you imagine where Warren Buffett and all these other people would be if they never borrowed money?
I'm not very far, but I'll tell you what, Warren Buffett, since you mentioned his name, and did we talk about this in advance? Did I tell you to say Warren Buffett's name? No, I didn't. But our ESP is working. Warren Buffett is the largest individual investor that invests in life settlements.
There you go. I wasn't thinking about that at all. Maybe I was thinking of buffets, because you look at me, but rhymes with Buffett.
You go there as well. It doesn't show. I'm glad. Anyway, Warren Buffett's got $1 billion for his company in life settlements. Okay. So, I mean, that's an example of somebody who does know what they're doing. And when you talk to Warren Buffett about earning 10, 12% on your money fully insured, no one's ever lost any money. You think Warren Buffett gets it? He does.
I think he was one of the first to get it.
Yeah.
And that's why he is where he is. And just to throw one more thing in, you and I have known each other for a while, maybe not forever. Before I ever met you, I knew a lot of people, and still know a lot of people, who have talked about life settlement. So I know that when you start talking about it, you're the one that knows, but the product itself has a great reputation, really, for those that know it.
Yeah, you have to know it. It's a different animal than normal investment. If you take a bond, like a muni bond or a corporate bond or whatever, you get an interest rate and you get a maturity date, right? That's fixed. You know exactly what the interest rate is. You know exactly when the bond matures. But with life settlements, you only know the exact amount of money you're going to get, but you do not know exactly when you're going to get it. That is the thing that is differentiate from a bond. And why can you predict that? Because you're buying life insurance policies and you cannot predict when people are going to die. We buy policies that we believe and validate that the people are expected to die within 3 to 6 years, somewhere in there. But almost every portfolio, somebody dies the first year. That is unexpected, but it does happen. Well, we know that the amount you're going to get is fixed. It's $64 over and above your investment. So if you invest $1, if somebody dies, you get $1.64. That's a done deal, no question. Whether it's the first year or the 5th year or whatever.
Now, when you make an investment in this, you're not just investing in one man or one woman's life insurance. It's spread out, correct? So it's
a portfolio.
There you go.
Yeah, you've got about 8 or 9 people, male, female, different ages, but they all have this in common. They have a life expectancy that's verifiable from 3 different sources, their own doctor and 2 others. That is their life expectancy. Therefore, they're in that portfolio. Okay. Now, the other thing I do, because I represent another company that's advertised on television, everyone has seen the ads. There are 2 elderly people that says they decided to sell their life insurance policy, for their retirement or to pay off medical bills or whatever. That company bought over $400 million worth of life insurance policies last year. I represent that company also. And if anyone wants to sell a life insurance policy, I would be happy to get them a bid from that company to see what it's worth. But
now, the other side of the story is you're helping those people whose policies you're buying also. They're not being left out to dry. They're given, you can get all or part from what I've seen on those commercials and from talking to you. And, those people are still protected. Plus, they have liquid assets right now that they didn't before.
Right. They have cash right now, and they don't have to make any more premium payments, and that's the big negative.
Oh, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that part, but that's huge.
Well, see, premiums keep going up and up, and at certain points, they get old enough to say, there's a lot of other things we could do with this money. We could take a trip around the world and have fun in our old age. So they sell the policy, they get cash, they do what they want to do, and it becomes an investment opportunity for somebody else. So it's a win-win situation for both sides.
And speaking of around the world, you give talks around the world, right?
I do. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Hong Kong in January. And
you need me to carry any bags or anything?
Yes, actually I do, yes. Would you reserve about 2 weeks, if you wouldn't mind?
Oh, no, I don't mind.
And oh, by the way, we'll bring along our Nutrisystem medicine, and you can have. How about that? Does that work for you?
All right.
Okay. Let me throw. We've got time for one more idea from Life Settlements because.
We've got a few more minutes. We've got about 5 or 7 minutes, I think.
Here's the good thing about Life Settlements. All right, it is not something that's a black and white issue. When we talk with somebody, they may have $5 million worth of life insurance, and they may decide, hey, we don't want to sell $5 million. We're happy to sell $1 million or $2 million. We don't want to sell $5 million. Well, you have that fluctuation. And as a matter of fact, we're so flexible that if a person had, let's say, $2 million worth of life insurance, and they say, we don't want to sell, we'd like to have some life insurance left over, we can structure the deal. So we're buying $1.5 million of life insurance from them. The other $500,000 they get to keep, and we make the premium.
Right. Because the needs they have for that life insurance have changed dramatically too. When they first got that long ago, they had no idea how much their heirs would need. Now maybe their heirs don't need as much, but will still get plenty. Yeah. And they themselves may not have needed much more cash back then, but now they do. They're retired.
They're retired. Their home equity has, in California in particular, the home equity has exceeded their imagination. Seriously, I bought a house in California in 1974 for $45,000.
Yeah.
It's in 74. 30 years later, it's worth $780,000. I know, because I got a quotation on the house that I bought. I wish I had hung on to it, but I didn't. But the home price is going up as much as they have. People have a lot of cash available to them, a lot of assets available to them. The stock market is at an all-time high. That's a blessing. There's a lot of things that say to them that, thank goodness, they were conservative and they saved what that policy. Now
But a lot of us don't have a piece of that stock market. This is a way to get a great piece of something like or better than the stock market, really.
Well, it's more predictable. I mean, the stock market goes up and down. The one thing about life settlement, once you buy into it, you have a figure that will not change. You put in $1, you're going to get $1.64, 65, something like that, because the numbers are fixed. We know exactly what the policies are worth. We know exactly what we paid for them. Therefore, the numbers are already in writing. We just don't know when you're going to get that money. But when you get it, it is a heck of a lot more than what you paid. That's called profit, and it's predictably profit without risk. There you go.
That part you can say again about the risk.
It's fully insured. Why? Because all the insurance companies, we buy the policies. These are major insurance companies. It's regulated by the insurance commissioner. If a company is insolvent or can't pay the policy premiums, they get merged with another company. The insurance policy will pay. They have always paid, they're regulated, and they will pay. Because we're going to die. Okay? I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't told me, but I didn't know till now.
Well, all you got to look is...
But I'm going to read your book and find out how to come back for a day.
All you got to do is Dangerfield. Ask yourself, when you see Dangerfield next day, tomorrow, next week, next month, when you talk to him, ask him how it is.
All right.
He's dead.
And I don't want to let me know if I get off subject too much, because we don't have too much time, and I want to make sure you've said what you like this time, and of course you'll come back if you will. But I have a good friend, Susan, who had a client by the name of Forrest Ackerman. You know Forrest Ackerman? If you're a sci-fi buff, you'll know right away who that is. But he really said there was no such thing as heaven. He never believed it. I'm not saying I get one way or the other, but he said there was no such thing as life after death. So he and some friends made a pact to do certain things. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to get my head wrapped around it. Sci-Fi Channel made a movie out of this exact thing. Yeah. And there was a book written, and apparently what he said he would do, he did. So that could be interpreted a lot of different ways.
Yes.
But that's pretty cool anyway.
What's cool about it is, though, the facts are still that he is still not with us.
No, he's not. But, he left us with a lot, though, and that's what all of us want to do. We want to have a legacy.
Absolutely.
And, listen to Charles Salisbury to increase, you increase your legacy, but you increase your enjoyment while you're building it.
Absolutely. And I hope that people will call me and ask questions. Because
so go ahead and say because why, and then give you that information one more time before we go.
Number again in the 949 area code in Orange County is
910-028.
910-6028. I got answers. No one's even asked the question yet.
Yeah, well, let's bring those questions on. Email me. You know how to get a hold of me out there, right? Now, since we got less than a minute left, I do want to take a minute to wish everyone a great and a wonderful Thanksgiving to enjoy with family and friends. You, Charles, your friends, your family, Sean, all the listeners out there. And thanks again so much, Charles, for being with us today. Thank you, Sean, for your time. You always do a great job, and the music and things are great. So I give thanks to that. And I'll leave with one more joke from Rodney, who said, I remember the time I was kidnapped and they sent back a piece of my finger to my father. He said he wanted more proof. So with that, Kaplan will be here on the same corner in front of the cigar store next week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.